says RF off. Let's see. Let's do RF on. There we go. So go ahead and we'll take a seat right there.
Okay, sure.
You can just turn on his belt.
Sorry?
Yeah, he's just going to put it behind him when he sits down.
Okay, okay. There you go.
But then we're going to have to clip it on anyway when he shows us the...
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Let's see. Did I get it on?
They're really annoying, believe me.
Yeah,
You're telling me. Just go ahead and take a seat, and then when you stand up, I'm just going to put it behind you.
Oh, okay.
And then when you stand up, I'll clip it
we'll
on.
move it. Okay, sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Where do you want me?
Right there. That's perfect right there, yes. Hang on, let me see if I can do something.
We got something behind him. He's not just like...
Right, we got that picture behind.
Okay. I just don't want him to be mug-shotted, what we call mug-shotted, where you're just like on a plain black or white or black.
You want to close his curtains? Will that be
No,
there?
no.
Oh, no, no, this is I'm used to daylight.
Okay.
So please be aware of any dumb questions. I apologize
no problem.
in advance. Okay, it doesn't come from a place of anything but kind of a lack of knowledge.
I understand.
Okay, stand by.
And we actually did a story, I guess, about not a similar, well, somewhat similar situation. Are you familiar with the UC Davis student who was asked
I saw that on the train, right? Or bus.
It was a bus
that's right.
for the train.
Oh, bus for
it
the
was
train.
the Amtrak bus, which
Right.
connects the train systems together, so they were not allowed on the bus.
Did you do the story?
I didn't. My good friend, my colleague Ian did. So I just was talking to him about it.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah.
So I understand kind of what the Kirpan is to you, but if you could just explain to us what it signifies, why wear it, and before I ask you that question, give me your full name, please.
Okay, it's Gursant Singh.
Do it one more time. Do it one more time.
My name is Gursant Singh.
Okay, spell
Gursant, and then Singh, Singh.
Okay.
And just pronounce that one more time, Gursant.
Gursant Singh.
Thank you. Okay.
And what? Little bit about you. You're a Sikh person. You live in Yuba City.
Yes.
Are we in the county or the city?
We're in the city.
Okay. And then just tell me a little bit about your history here in the community.
Okay. I've lived here for about 3 years now, and I've been a Sikh for 35 years. I moved here about 3 years ago because there is such a large Sikh community here. My wife and I wanted to be near where there were a lot of Sikhs and a lot of Sikh temples, or we call them gurdwaras, where we go. So it's a nice big community of Sikhs. And
you're aware that someone's in your backyard, right?
Yes, we have
a. Before okay. Well, it just creeped me out. Somebody popped up over the window.
He's working on the sprinkler.
Okay.
Sorry.
And so, part of the reason you wanted to come to the community was because it was welcoming, or because it was the numbers were what they were. What do you?
Well, there are several things. One is that the Sikh community is so large here, and I find it to be very welcoming, and there are several temples here. The other thing is that this is a very family-oriented community, I feel like, and there's a lot of good family values, and I call them conservative or whatever, but that's really along our belief system. We believe in honest living and having families and things like that. I have been involved in shooting and with rifles and handguns competition myself, and so I'm a big defender of the Second Amendment. And here in Sutter County, the sheriff is very cooperative about giving out the concealed weapons licenses. So I have a license, and I carry a handgun wherever I go, basically. In fact, I just noticed too that there was a law passed in Georgia this morning about allowing handguns with people with legally permitted in the courthouses there now. So this is what goes along with this issue we're talking about today.
Well, it doesn't in the sense that the Kirpan holds a special significance, which could be, say, protected under religious freedoms and so on.
Right.
Whereas the good old pistol or whatever that's a right to bear arms situation.
It is similar, but the fact is that, and this brings us to this issue about the Kirpan. The Kirpan cannot just be a symbol, all right? It has to be a practical weapon and be able to be used for self-defense and defending those that can't defend themselves. So it can't just be a small symbol or something. And that was one of the options the jury commissioner gave me was said, well, some people we've said, you know, in other courts had just put it in a box and locked it in the box until they were done and kept on. Well, this is not acceptable. And this is not according to the Sikh Rehit or the Sikh Code of Conduct. You can
and what is its point? What is the kirpan? And like I said,
yeah.
I mean, I don't want to muddle the point here. That's only my only concern, because this is specific to your religion, to your
right.
culture,
right.
and I want to. I don't want to further confuse viewers by making it too much of a blurred Second Amendment and or religious freedom line.
Yeah.
So I understand
right.
what you're saying. So tell me a little bit about the kirpan.
Well,
what it means. Yeah, go ahead.
In our history, you really have to understand the Sikh history. Sikhs fought against the Mughal invaders for hundreds of years, and we are proud of this tradition of defending our rights and defending our families, defending those that can't defend themselves. In fact, the Sikhs were the only religion in the world that defended other religious people's rights to worship the way they wanted to. Okay, in India during the 1600s and 1700s, Sikhs defended the rights of Hindus to be able to believe the way they wanted to, and in fact fought the Muslim invaders. Okay, the Mughals who invaded India, and so the kirpan is really an article of faith that represents this strict duty, I should say, to be able to defend ourselves and defend those that can't defend themselves. Okay, so it's a very important article of our faith, put it that way. We have 5 articles of faith, in fact. Okay, and this is one of them. So by telling somebody that they have to appear without that article of faith is really asking us to violate the code of conduct and our religious beliefs. And
you got a summons
right.
for jury selection or jury duty,
yes.
and you were told there's listing there, you know, of what you should and should not bring.
Right.
That brought up concern for you. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, when I got the summons, I immediately noticed that I was up here and it says the courthouse in Sutter County is a secure building, it says, and then you cannot bring any weapons or knives. All right. So instantly I said, well, you know, look, I have to wear my kirpan as part of our beliefs. So I wrote the court a letter that was about 10 days ago and explained the situation, sent them some articles about how Sikhs have to wear the kirpan or knife. And so I didn't hear back from them. So I called over there. It was yesterday, day before, I guess. And so I talked to a lady, and she wasn't committing to exactly what, you know, she said, well, finally she called me back, and then she said, well, the chief of the Sutter County Juror Commissioner wants to talk to you. And so I talked to her this morning, and we had a nice conversation. I told her that I was really impressed by the research she did, and really took time to research what other courts in the state of California have done to try to accommodate Sikhs and things like that, and said that one of the accommodations they thought about was to put the kirpan in a locked box that the court marshal keeps a copy, and then they can keep it on like that. But I told her, I said that I really am surprised that they were those Sikhs were doing that, because they're really not supposed to. It's really not according to the code of conduct to put the kirpan in a place where you can't access it. Okay, the code strictly says that you're to have it at your side and just be able to be used as a weapon. All right, so it doesn't. And so in order to be a weapon, it has to be long enough length so that it has to be able to use that way. You know, but it can't be just a small.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah. Little
right.
butter knife or a tiny little.
That
I've seen the little examples online, like real
right.
tiny versions of them.
Right, exactly.
Nail file size, kind of.
Yeah.
Even littler.
Right.
So in your mind, I mean, was it dealt with? I mean, were you satisfied with any of those ideas? I mean, they pretty much continued to tell you that you were not allowed to bring it, right?
Right. That was her
Or
position.
you weren't going to carry it through the courtroom.
Yeah. She offered to excuse me from jury duty. But I said, no, I don't want to be excused. I want to be able to serve, and I want you to recognize that this is a religious article of faith, and we have to wear it all the time like that. So I understand her hands are kind of tied. She's not in the authoritative position to be able to allow me into the courthouse. So I suggested to her, I said, look, I think what we should do is just that you take it to a judge and have the judge either charge me with a crime, that I'm not showing up for jury duty, as I said, or, well, I guess that would be the way to handle it, And she was not really willing to, well, I guess what she said is that she said she didn't think a judge would ever rule that I was in violation of the law. But I'm willing to do that if that's what it takes in order to bring this issue out and to bring it out into the open, because I feel firmly that they put me in a position, either I violate my code of conduct for my religion or I break the law, one of the two, okay? So I would much rather choose to abide by my religious code than to abide by the law.
So the only, it sounds like based on your and again, I'm not a Sikh person, so I don't know, but it sounds like there's really no leeway here. There's no compromise. This is what it says to do. So the only solution would be it would be allowed into the courtroom the way you have it held right.
Yes,
now,
that's right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's no real compromise, unfortunately, based on the code of conduct.
Right. And it's like asking somebody to compromise on.
I'm not saying there is, but I'm just, I get what you're saying, but I'm just asking, right, there really isn't anything other than the only solution you're looking for, and the only one that would be acceptable to your faith would be to just be able to carry it.
Yes, exactly. And there's in my mind, there's really no reason why somebody should not be a law-abiding citizen who wants to serve as a juror shouldn't be able to wear your article of faith and be able to defend themselves, be able to defend others that can't defend themselves. There have been many instances in courts where a criminal will steal the handgun of a sheriff or somebody who's guarding them and things like that and shoot them. And there are probably more instances of crime within that small area of the court than any place else, you know what I mean, like that. So,
but what if someone were to take your kirpan? Is there a security concern? Can you see their points?
I'm trained with that. I know how to use it, and I'm also, by the way, like I told you before, I'm trained with a handgun, things like that. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't allow law-abiding citizens to be on the court with a handgun, okay, if they have a license and everything is like that. Why shouldn't we as citizens and law-abiding citizens be able to protect ourselves? Why should we have to rely on the government to protect us? We don't need that, okay? Sikhs are firm believers in the right and responsibility of the individual, okay? Not to be like in this welfare state where people, to let the government take care of you, okay? That's a firm belief, I think, of most Sikhs.
So you generally don't even necessarily agree with a weapon-free zone in the court?
No, I don't.
Even with a volatile kind of situation that could occur with all the, the things that happen in courthouses? If
a person is trained with a weapon, like is required under the CCW license in the state of California, you're trained with a weapon, there's no reason why a law-abiding citizen shouldn't be able to have a weapon in the court. That's my belief.
So you're hoping to bring attention to this. You put this up on YouTube?
Yes.
And you're asking for what on YouTube? I on my phone I could watch about half of it. And
okay.
I ended up losing my signal. So
right.
And I couldn't get it to restart, and then I appeared here. So tell me a little bit about the.
Well, I think in light of my conversation this morning with the juror commissioner, that I'm going to ask Sikhs to come on, I think it's Tuesday the 29th, when I'm supposed to appear there. I'm going to ask Sikhs to come there in front of the courthouse, and we'll ask the court to be able to allow me to sit as a juror, like that. We'll just see what happens. So I'm going to ask my friends from Yuba City and anywhere else that want to come and support me there, and that's 8:30 a.m. on the 29th.
This has, Sikhs are not a new culture,
right?
Specifically to California either, and yet we aren't hearing about this all the time. So are there other Sikhs that maybe aren't as devout? Why is it that, as a reporter who, I've worked for 7 years as a TV reporter, I've never done this story before.
Right.
Why is that?
Well, you had mentioned that one instance before where this young Sikh man wasn't allowed on the bus, okay?
Right, but I'm talking
Yeah.
about jury service. I mean, people serve
right.
on juries
Okay.
all the time.
Yeah, I think.
And there are plenty of Sikh people who
Right.
are not being arrested hand and foot over and over again, being, you know, for contempt of court or what have you.
Right. I think there's a couple things. I think many times people overlook their responsibility to serve as a juror, and they just don't want to deal with the situation. Okay, I feel very strongly that as a citizen of the United States, that I should be able to serve as a juror and take that responsibility on. Okay. The other thing is that I think a lot of Sikhs are immigrants from India. They don't speak English very well, and they don't know how to communicate. They want to fit in. They don't want to make waves. I think that's a big part of it. Now, I happen to be converted to Sikhism. All right,
Okay.
I grew up in Southern California, and I converted to Sikhism 35 years ago, and I've been involved in politics a lot. I work for Congress in Washington, D.C., so I know the law. I know how to fight for freedoms of religion. I, in fact, sued the U.S. government and the U.S. Army back in 1984 to be able to be allowed in the Army as a Sikh, okay? And at the time, it didn't really go too far. We lost in court. But now, 30 years later now, they're starting to allow Sikhs now to join the U.S. Army with full beard and turbans and everything like that. So it took a while, but we're slowly trying to get society to accept Sikhs and our freedom of religions like that.
And you're wanting, and you're a starter of that.
I like to be an activist, and I think it's important that in our society, when we're made up of all types of different people, all right, and for people to be free to practice their religion the way they want and to be responsible individuals. That's the other thing. As I said before, I'm very disturbed by this trend of restricting gun rights, restricting the freedoms of people, so that we cannot practice the religion the way we want, and we cannot act and defend ourselves the way that we should be able to and we want to, that kind of thing. So these are all concerns of mine on a bigger scale. But this is something that hit right at home when I got that jury service, and I said, great, you know, I want to serve as a juror and things like that, but I'm restricted from doing that.
All right, you want twos?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, to reiterate,
Yeah,
we're
let me
just
just-
gonna get some extra. Let's get twos, and then we'll get shots of the Kirpan.
That's what I'm exactly, okay,
Okay.
let me just tuck
Yeah,
this in
sure.
this kind of hand
Sure.
right there.
Okay.
There we go.
I mean, as far as I know, I
Okay,
mean,
thank you.
in the dealings I've had with different stories and so on, I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of a balance when it comes to Sikh faith, because you're very peaceful people, right? And yet you, well, I mean, they're just very amenable. I mean, they're just very. Everyone I've ever talked to has been been very nice, has been very. And I know it's not necessarily in your history, but you know, because I mean, you've been defenders. But
is it necessarily bad to be able to defend ourselves, or to be?
No, I mean that's my. I just don't want it to come off in any sense that you're outwardly violent or you're outwardly, you know, anything like that. Where we.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
this is something I think that is this PC thing in this society today about people that have to be peaceful, that they don't carry guns, okay, or they don't defend themselves, okay.
Right, and that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. But unfortunately, that is kind of the PC thing where where the people are going, okay, well, there is an assumption from some people that there would be a tendency for violence because you're wanting to be armed.
Yeah. Well, this is the propaganda that I believe has been put forth by those that wanted to destroy our individuality and our freedoms in this country. Okay.
Plenty, just because he's our star. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So you know, my wife will tell you I'm the nicest guy she's ever met. You know,
right.
and I carry a gun everywhere I go. Okay. I'm not afraid to defend myself and defend those that can't defend themselves. Okay. It doesn't mean you have to act with anger if you use a weapon, okay?
Right.
And that's part of our Sikh history, okay? Right. The Sikh gurus who fought the Mughals, okay, they were so nice, as you say it, you know, they shot their enemies with gold-tipped arrows so that the family would have, funds to be able to bury their dead and to be able to help their families after they were killed. Okay, so I think that it's important to realize that to be spiritual